Everybody knows that the dice are loaded. Everybody rolls with their fingers crossed. Everybody knows the war is over. Everybody knows the good guys lost. Everybody knows the fight was fixed. The poor stay poor, the rich get rich. That's how it goes. Everybody knows. Welcome to the stream. My name is Rocky Outcrop. That was, of course, Everybody Knows. That's performed by me just for the crack here at the start of the song, start of the show. Coming first doesn't always pay off, says Michael John Scott. Well, John, good to see you. And I see you're chatting there with Navin Ethan. Haha, his plan was foiled. He's normally the first in the door. Well, you were beaten this time. Everybody say hello to the new friends just down below that fly along there. They're there to remind everybody to do all those like, subscribe things and everything that you see on the old YouTubes, but which I forget to say so often. Just trying to get that right. Okay, so welcome to the show. Hi, K-Dot, good to see you. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin prices. Everybody knows. Well, we didn't get the measured move coming off the back of that triangle. This is the 15-minute chart, so that's a bit of a small term time frame, is it not? Yes, it is. Well, we didn't get that measured move. Moving it down to sort of accommodate this retest of the thing hasn't really paid off well. That's whatever it is, just what it is. So we have to ask other questions. Are we seeing something else in this meantime? I suppose it's probably a good idea to reconfigure things slightly and just ask a question here. Are we seeing something along the lines of a descending triangle emerge on the charts? Let me hide off this. Are we seeing emerging on the charts a descending triangle, or perhaps are we seeing something else? You know, we could be seeing a little bit of the old wedge here on the go just in this section of price action. And are we going to see that turn around and come back up towards the top side? At any rate, everybody knows that the prices are consolidating. And what happens after some consolidation? Well, there's usually some form of a breakout one way or the other. And that's kind of what we're looking to. Well, congratulations, by the way, to everybody in America on having a new president. I hope he stays fit and healthy for the next 4 years and does a great job for y'all. And yeah, cool. So what will we look at and talk about today? Because the chat is more or less the same as what we've had for the last several days. Because what we like to do on the show, of course, is, well, we might identify a pattern here or there, whatever else. We take a look at the structure as much as anything else, you know, and kind of ask questions about where we are at the minute and what we've done. And if we just hide off the frameworks, just remove them actually for now, the framework of these different patterns that we could have instead, let's draw our eyes to the Fibonacci in the background there and take a look at where it has been recently. Well, we can see that it's been down as far as the 618 golden pocket there today. And if I just bring up the menu here, you can see the highs and lows. So the low today 33,303, highs today 36,422. And that's placing us right between these two areas just here. And we know that therefore means that we're kind of coming in and challenging with a 236 off the back of the structure from this high over here down to this low over here. We're challenging this 236 and looks like we could get to close above it. Maybe we go back up and put in a 618, coming in for a lower high over here, and just continuing this sort of downward trend feature that we have on the go until such times as something changes. That would be coming in at around about the 37k area and this 382 over here of this Fibonacci. So we are trying right now in terms of the bigger picture to go back above the 50% area of this one, and that's more or less, you know, what we have been talking about recently with regards to the main structural things we need to look to on the charts. Here's the Donchian channels, and you can see, pardon me, that the real sort of big key area at the minute of just this to stay above is going to be coming in there at 30 grand area. Big key area to try and break above is 42 grand. We're consolidating in the meantime, and you can look to other sort of information if you want to, such as how this RSI has come in. Well, it's not actually lower than what we have over there on the left. Whoops, just removed the whole thing. you can look at certain things such as how, you know, we've been getting lower and lower and lower here on the lows of the RSI, as we've been getting lower and lower on these lows over here. In terms of the highs, you know, we've been getting lower and lower as well. So there's no real divergences showing up, for instance, just there to give us any warning sign against this latest feature of the downward part. So the structural elements really come back into play again, needing to stay above in the short to medium term, the 33k area, to have a view to looking towards the 38,000 area as a target. You know, between either these between either sides of these Donchian channels at the minute is what we're going to have to look and see if we're able to break it towards one side or the other. It is worth pointing out, I suppose, that we broke the previous area just here in terms of the short-term picture, the 4-hour candle here, looking back then at our previous low in the 20 previous candles. And then, of course, we have towards the top side 40,000 in terms of where we really haven't successfully broken above, and that's what forms that descending triangle or wedge, or just, you know, an even broader look at a triangle along the lines of what AF Karimi was suggesting the other day, or Toka. If you remember, he was asking, why don't you use the previous ones? Well, there we go. That's us using them now. And of course, that straddles this whole thing in a big old consolidation area. So if we want to then look towards this, what could we be thinking about in terms of the big picture if we were to break beyond either of these areas? And you could be looking down towards lows, you know, like in terms of the measured move, coming in from around about the 29,000 up towards the 42,000 area. So there's a good few $1,000 on a measured move between this. Just roughly drawing one in for kind of argument's sake. Let's stick it in the top side. That takes us up towards the 50,000 area, and that takes us down towards the 1618, coming in at around about this 20,200, so 20,000 ish area if you're to go up or down off the back of that. So we don't really want to see that being the case, but of course that's really what any of these intermediate sort of patterns that we're looking at resolve out to on the bigger picture, just in the same way as what we came up with that symmetrical triangle the other day when I was showing you that the sort of the historical construction of it within it and how certain patterns have played out. Well, so long as we stay within the guts of this range here, and then we're doing okay. Breaks down below the 618, and you're looking for that support in there at 31,500. But if it doesn't come in at 30,000, then it's kind of, you know, looking really rough. Likewise, in terms of the fake outs and with regards to playing this, if you wanted to play a breakout, then, you know, waiting for confirmation past 38,000 isn't going to necessarily take too much skin off your nose if you are going for that big move up the way. Never, you know, like, never mind 41,000, 42,000, something like that. That's kind of what we're just looking to at Bitcoin at the minute, until such times as the picture changes. Well, the picture hasn't really changed overall. I'm happy to take suggestions from what anybody might want to look at, and I'm really pleased to see that the microphone has been working this whole time. Gosh, can you imagine it hadn't been working today? Well, who let the bulls out? Good to have you there. Aluminium foiled again. Well, there we are with the tinfoil hat brigade. It's good to have you here, my friend. Nice to see you, John. Nice to see you, K-Doc. Nice to see you, Gank. Good to have you here, Gank L. Bruno, good to see you. I'm crying, can't make a profit. I'd like to talk about how little pot noodles are disgusting. Blech, says K-Doc. Yes, they're not very good. They never have been. It's a tough one out there, trying to compete against the majesty of the pot noodle. Why does somebody not do a proper rip-off, you know, instead of these other noodle pot things? Bruno sounding like Peter Schiff, says John there. Well, I wonder. Peter Schiff. Nobody really wants to sound like Peter Schiff in our community, but Peter Schiff laughs every time the Bitcoin price drops at all, so I suppose he's kind of happy to have seen it over the last wee while, having had that this part of the whole chat. The downward sloping resistance is obviously pleasing to the likes of the old Pedro there. Gents, I've been holding NEO since $3 in 2017. Should I sell now before NEO 3.0 test net, or wait before mainnet? Thoughts, cheers. NEO, maybe Rocky. Well, I was just happened to be reading the chat as you said that, so I'm not exactly sure how long we've been on for. How about I get that thing up so I can see it a bit better? Yeah, Groovy. Okay, sweet. So 9 minutes 55 seconds. So 10 minutes in. That makes it easy if I do want to go back and take a look at the add in sort of chapters in USDT. Let's take a look at NEO. Now, of course, this what you're talking about is a fundamental change, and that's not necessarily going to show up on the charts, yada yada, as people say. But also, you know, perhaps these things get their prices baked into them. You know, has it already been accounted for? Is always a question to be asked as well when you've got some big event coming up. Like a mainnet launch. Now, traditionally they do tend to do well for the prices of assets, or you know, crypto assets, when they have their mainnet launch, do they not? I wonder, is this starting volume, or got to be starting something? So that's one thing to look at. So just draw in a wee line on this one. Say, look towards the volume over there. Look to the highs that we've just put in over there. Let's bring up some doodads. We've got this kind of strength of trend towards the top side, which is obviously good to see. We have the RSI coming up and trying to get into the overbought territory, and having been rejected, not rejected, but having not really, you know, it's trying up towards that direction. That's good to see. Now, could this obviously turn out to be bearish divergence? Well, yes, it could be at this, you know, with these highs here, if they don't successfully go higher again and again and again. Do we have a local top as yet? Not really, not with this body being where it is. You know, we have had the prices come down so far as here to give you a good test of things, but this isn't really it quite yet. Although, you know, things look a little bit shaky in that sense. We've taken out our previous high on the channel, which took out its previous high before that. Going up the way, you know, you've got a clear sort of picture that the trend is currently towards the top side. And it seems to be in the broader sense of things as well. So in the weekly time frame, you know, we've got this upward trend high with a higher high thereafter, I suppose. Is that going to be accurate? Well, this is our low here. Oh, got $3 coming, or $5 coming in from Michael John Scott. Cheers very much for that. Really appreciated, John, mate. Good one. Thanks so much. Yeah, so then we're going up towards this next high, coming back down, didn't break below the Donchian channel either, you know, and this is the same sort of, I mean, again, this is just for sort of demonstration purposes, sort of to kind of make points about how well we're structurally, you know, just how the I'm using one thing there to talk about the essentially just talking about how that we're coming in with higher highs and we're not breaking down past significant areas out with the realms of potential expectation, and you can see that here represented by the Bollinger Bands as well, in the sense that, you know, we've just gone within the cheers, that's just come up there now. Yeah, so it's just coming within, you know, the general realm of expectation there. So you know, we're still trending towards the top side in terms of should I sell now. It kind of, you know, it's a couple of different questions that you maybe are trying to answer there in a oneer. If you let me just leave it on the weekly time frame, since we're talking about a broad concept really anyway, given that you've held on to it since, well, $3 down here, you know, even lower than that. So you got it, so, you know, we have 2017, obviously this is relatively recently, this here on the March lows. So obviously you're a man with a thick enough skin when it comes to that holding in the face of downward price action. So if you know what, if you're looking to sort of start challenging that perspective, one way of doing it would maybe be considering, you know, from roughly in it around about where not your entry point, of course, but where would have been the second best one that you could have possibly got, I suppose, over the last few years, is down there at that low. And this is the most recent highs we've put in has come in today. And you know, as things stand, you know, from a Fibonacci perspective, we're still doing all right. We don't have a real valid Fibonacci towards the downside. This doesn't come in as a real confirmed local high in terms of the tops here on that. So while there could be the sort of divergence here on this weekly time frame, which is obviously visible as well in the daily time frame, that would require you to pull back a significant area, perhaps taking out the 382 with a closure here, to really start to say that this was actually divergent there on that bigger time frame, and then correspondingly down the way, then of course if we were to not do that, you'd be looking at kind of just continuing towards the top side. And that ties in fair enough with what we're seeing in terms of various other ideas, such as the fact that we're taking out previous highs along the way, and we've got this fairly visible upward trend on the go. Obviously there's retracements during it, but we're doing okay. So as visible here with the Donchian channels, and of course I could demonstrate already with the Bollinger Bands, and equally and by the way, the Bollinger Band 20 period moving average coming in somewhere between the 236 and the 382 there on the daily time frame. And undoubtedly then if we bring up other things such as Ichimoku over here, you'll see similar concepts to you. Maybe if you were to look to try and where you might put in a stop perhaps or whatever on a long might come in if you're using this lagging line over here, for instance, and the sort of the last low on it comes in around about this area of the 236, and where that moving average would be, for instance, and just then as well looking towards where the cloud really is in terms of so-called future support and resistance. Again, it lines up perfectly with where the 236 is at the moment, and overall we're trading above the cloud. We've got a positive cross over here, with the divergence, moving apart with the strength of the trend coming into play here, looking okay, and the potential to really stay in things in the broader term perspective, like back up here on the weekly time frame, is really stretched out so long as you don't go down past these levels. So so in answering your question, hopefully for your perspective, or for a lot of other people I guess who are hodling this one, are you thinking along the lines of hodling it come what may, or are you thinking along the lines of managing your risk along the way and perhaps trading it almost, as opposed to just simply treating it as a sort of sterile investment? And if you want to have that interaction, then you could be looking around these areas. But of course, these things operate in terms of, from that perspective, in terms of giving you buy areas on the chart. As we look at these, from this sort of point of view, we could be looking at these as buy areas potentially as well. And that means that if you wanted to treat this as a sell area, then that's your area of risk that you're taking on. And of course, that's the distinction between a lot of people when you say why would you trade and why would you not why would you trade or why would you hodl. Sometimes it comes down to the appetite that you might have to take a move between sort of the 23 and 19 areas, and you're looking at $3.50 to $4 there, more than 10% move, and it's it's a real obvious healthy way of like making profits in your account. To grow it, then again, you're obviously putting the overall sort of underlining your opportunity cost, the value that you might have then in the future is obviously pinned against that. So that's the opportunity cost there of if you believe that you're going to see a bounce here, and at any stage along the way, whether you're just simply sort of hodling it in a cold storage or you're actually actively trading it, these are the decisions that you kind of end up making, and it puts you back on there having to put your trading cap on. So hopefully then, no matter how deep you wanted to go, that kind of answers those questions for you. Let me know if it did or it didn't. I hope it at least provided some sort of insight or perspective. If you are looking down in terms of the low term time frames, and obviously things are struggling at the minute, as they have been with a number of cryptocurrencies today in terms of their short term time frame. This is obviously a very discouragingly ugly chart to look at, in a sense that with the way that the Ichimoku cloud and the colors and everything are making it look maybe difficult to see. But what you're seeing here overall essentially is that there is the potential for us to be just turning it around now. Okay, so like that's what our story will be when we go to take a look at the other cryptos that we're going to be looking at as well. We'll be asking this question of, have we turned this around just here as we poked through the top end of the Ichimoku cloud there. Now, I just happen to be using this phrasing as I'm talking about this, but if I was talking, because I've got the Ichimoku cloud up, as I demonstrate on the channel quite a lot of the time, there's like 100 different routes to the same end story as well. If you sort of you're happy to use whatever tools you have at your disposal. So I'm just kind of making that point based on what's on the screen there for anybody interested. Right, EO, so quick summary, I suppose, of NEO before I move on to take a look at the other ones here. Starting on the 24-hour time frame, quick summary of NEO would suggest to you that we're doing quite well. The price action is moving towards the top side, and so long as we actually don't take out key areas below us, then we won't be able to confirm this as being a local high that we've just put in, and therefore this isn't divergence as yet, and overall we have an upward move towards the top side. There are some risks, and if we see across here in the stochastics on the daily time frame, perhaps the what we've seen happen recently on the lower term time frames happens here on the bigger ones as we come in and put in a low here, as you can see. Now this low that's come in is actually got some hidden bullish divergence on it here with regards to the stochastics on this 4-hour time frame. In fact, as well, it has it on the RSI, so there's a number of good factors here as we look towards where the support of the Ichimoku cloud and the 236 Fibonacci retracement point are lining up with this one. Is there the potential for us to have a bounce? Yes, there is. If you're looking to hold this in terms of the longer term story, then I suppose you could be thinking beyond where your risk management zones towards the downside. But if you are just wanting to score them off your list real quick, then you're looking down towards $23, thereafter $19.42 and $16.50, and then you really are getting into severe sort of why am I hodling this questions territory. But if you're actually looking towards the top side, then there's a nice quick way to kind of do that with a couple of smaller term targets, just based off the speculative value that you could have if we were to see anywhere in this area acting as a local low for us and us finding support. And I'll just do that real quick here as we wrap up the NEO section. And by the way, if you wouldn't mind hitting like on the video and subscribing to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. But speculatively, if we were to stay go down as far as the 23 point, then your profit taking targets based off a bounce off the back of that could be taking you as high as $32 thereafter. Now if we were to see a bounce from just around where where we had our low there previously, then your high again $32 more or less is where you could potentially be looking to. So anywhere in this zone, you're talking 32 up towards 33 sort of area for that one. Now there are various profit taking targets in between, but that could be your next one of significance to look to if you're looking for profit on this one. We have overall increase in volume, and of course we do actually have this slight positive perhaps potential rejection if we see continuation on the DMI to give us the negation of any potential divergences that we've seen so far. We really just need to push past those zones. There is the divergences, bearish divergences to be aware of, and the small bullish divergences we've seen there might not actually counteract that, but overall there's your risk management and your profit taking zones for this one in the medium term. Cool, nice one. Thanks for tuning in for that. Now let me just see, I'll check in with the chat here, see how you are all getting along, and then take a look at the other coins that we're going to be taking a look at. By the way, nice to have you here, WallQ. What about the BTC ETH pair? What does it tell you? It tells you about the relative value between Bitcoin and Ethereum. Lols. I'll take a look at that. I'll take a look at that. Instead of just handing you a literal answer there. Hello, by the way. Hello to you too, by the way, my paleo WallQ. And we see a nice little chat going on there between the fellow outcropticians in the chat stream. So hello to Julian Bonilla, by the way, or is that Bonilla? I wonder, is that Julian Bonilla? Let me know where you're from, my friend. I know your goal is to make us formidable traders, but do you know of any legitimate firms or groups that handle one's crypto trading? I too have made poor trading. Well, no, I don't know of any legitimate ones that handle one's trading, but there's too much risk involved in that. Now, the sort of, I would really caution against anybody ever looking into trying to find one of those things. At some point in the future, I suppose I'll be having a group level based on Patreon subscribers for talking about what we ourselves are doing with our trading, as opposed to signals and the like. It would just be more of a community type thing, which has got a sort of doorman on it, if you like. Black tie, but the most I mean, already my goal is to turn you into formidable traders. If you're experiencing losses in the market, then it's normally there's a few easy and quick routes to discovering what that is. Is it your position sizing? Is it the frequency and volume, if you like, of your trading? And various other kind of niche, not niche, but areas that people find themselves falling into, which latterly become for a lot of people a way of then describing what type of trader they are. Because you often hear people say, oh, I'm this type of trader, I'm that type of trader. Well, kind of a lot of that is to say that because they've experienced a lot too much pain when they've traded in a different way, given how their own particular attitudes and stuff like that. So, it's a key to you is to break things down a little bit. We've all made losses. It could easily be that you're simply ignoring risk management. Perhaps you're gambling from time to time in your trading activities. I think that if you're asking these questions, I mean, you've taken the first step in the right direction. Okay, you've taken the first step in the right direction by asking that question. Perhaps. But the next step is like 2 steps back again, and to look into yourself and to ask yourself what it is that you're doing wrongly. And the best solution to it, no matter what particular problem that you're having with your trading, or your attitude to trading, or your attitude to life, which has an osmosis secondary effect, negative effect on your trading, etc., 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 whatever it could be, the way to identify the problem and actually to solve it kind of is to make a journal, a trading journal. It's quite simple, really. Whatever format works for you is fine. Doesn't need to be meticulous notes with all of the relevant details, but if you can put down a note about what it was that you were thinking at the time, and then add as much detail into that as you want to. It could be that you even go as far as to talking about what you got up to that day. Were you really tired, or were you really feeling in the zone? Was that because you'd had your breakfast, etc.? It could be these things that experience it, and you will discover so much about your own trades and what what went against you at the time. Would it have been, for instance, that you had put your stop in a different location? You wouldn't have got stopped out. You would have got the move right in the end anyway. And perhaps you're just using too much leverage and trading in a way which is somewhat reckless for you, because really ultimately maybe you're like a swing trader trading on the wrong time frame sort of idea. And you could discover that through looking at yourself in that way, that introspective way. Okay, so that would be my number one tip, and that would be the best tip that you could get in your situation. If you actually go ahead and then outsource that responsibility onto a trading group, then you're going to stifle yourself in ways that the benefits you get from that trading group will not account for, realistically. Okay, realistically in the long term. Okay, cool. So that was maybe a bit too deep for everybody's liking, but that's the truth of it. If you agree, then hit the like button. Hell yes, let's move on with the technical analysis. Thanks so much to everybody for joining us, and for sharing these videos with your friends. Thank you so much for that as well, because I know that there's great activity out there amongst people who share these videos with their friends, and not all their friends choose to speak necessarily into the chat box, and they might not get a shout out. So there are several people out there who maybe deserve a spiritual shout out, even if you're not here talking with us right now. In terms of the Ethereum pricing, I suppose we could take a look at this one now. What we've seen here is that in the box here, now I told everybody about this, and if you want access to this magic trading indicator, then of course you can get that by just asking me in the Discord, and I'll point you in the direction of it. It's right in the there's an indicators section in the Discord. You can copy and paste it in, etc. I've discussed this a few times. What do I talk about? I say that there's a fairly strong chance, and this is kind of one of the Rocky outcrop indicators. You'll never see anybody else talking about this, but it seems to happen with enough frequency for us to mention it, right? What I've gone, I've customized the DMI here. You can see in the background we had this sort of shaded section, and it ended. The party stopped. The prices went up. The prices then came back down to where they were when the party stopped. Ho ho ho! On the 4-hour time frame. Interesting stuff here, giving everybody a really easy trading opportunity. Now, of course, there's a good degree of risk in here, but you would have made a 14% incline had you sort of guessed right, so to speak, lol, on following the trend towards the top side in this movement up the way here, and thinking that we're just going to burn on past any chance of divergences, break past key areas, go past their previous high, yada yada, and go on up the way as then happened. And then whenever the prices then came back down again, then what do we see here is they came down 13%, back down to where they were before. And what does this encompass? Well, this actually brings us up to all-time high territory, and that's quite nicely visible by me zooming out here and showing you, for instance, how we've beaten our previous highs first off. And if I want to, actually I don't need to go and show you the previous all-time high. I'm pretty sure it's broken in, well actually I kind of suppose I do. Okay, so there, if I zoom all the way out and all that jazz, then you can see there's your previous all-time high. That's the Fibonacci line that comes across from it, and the prices went up above it. And it's no massive surprise then, in the last 24 hours that we've seen the prices drop back down again, since back down to where they were before, based on all of the discussions that we had with the and all of this technical jazz that we did before. This is funny looking at this. So yeah, so that's cool. We discussed it. That's funny. And you can see it there. Right. Anyway, where are we now? Where are we now? Well, this does put us in a position where we could ask, are we in a... Let me just move this up here as well to... So this top yellow line, that's our previous all-time high that we broke. We're finding that being resistance today. So, you know, that's obviously still a key area for us. That top line there is, of course, the most recent all-time high. We've still not got a body closure, which beats the previous one, I don't think, as yet. But that's cool. Similar situation what we saw with Bitcoin when it did this. This is coming along a bit later. But are we going to see a problem here emerging in the shape of a wedge? Well, if we did, that really just kind of at the minute lines up more or less with looking towards the same information we're getting from that Fibonacci. If we break down past the 236 in here at 1270, then you've got a bit of an issue in terms of your closure. So we look back down again towards the 4-hour time frame and say, you know, in terms of this wedge, therefore, I'm just bringing up full screen, in terms of this wedge, therefore, that's kind of where we're looking to. Obviously this doesn't line up properly in the 4-hour, but whatever. And if we go down past that, then it really still kind of in fake out territory until you've broken down past the 382. That lines up with what we're seeing in terms of the Fibonacci's here, as well as you might expect. In terms of the Ichimoku cloud lining up with the Fibonacci, showing us that potential support area as you would expect to see in around about this wedge here, giving you that fake out, pushing past that zone, potential retest areas, and then on down the way. Downside targets, of course, come in there at 972. Upside targets from this point, just in the same way as we did there with Neo at the end, would come in at around about from here up towards the 1570 level as your next target. Now, we've already spoken about big term targets in the previous live streams, all of them, and of course we're still working towards them, and they are, you know, there's plenty of them around. One of them, for instance, comes in there at 1781, so we don't need to get too super excited yet. Let's wait for a resolution of what we're looking at just now. If we did see this happen in a pattern sense, though, it does take you up with the potential to come up towards that 1700 target, and of course down towards all of the 618 and everything else we spoke about, looking down towards that 900 target as well. That's your technical analysis done on a number of time frames, really, with regards to this price action here. Number of time frames. And just to kind of finish it off here then, in summary, if we do move beyond the zones of our previous highs, it takes us up into the extension to the pitchfork that we've been sort of using for a number of months. And then if we do go down below those territories where we see the 382, the 50% line and all that, it takes us into this middle line again, and it does give you further targets towards the downside thereafter. $800 and 615 would be your next two towards the downside if things got fairly catastrophic. That's quite a way away. Towards the top side, then it gives you another target of $2,000 more or less as well, in terms of coming up, you know, 1900 or so if we were to go all the way up towards the towards the top end of this, where a measured move would take us. All of it lining up really lovely for us. So in the meantime, if we want to sort of trade the range presented to us by the pattern that we're looking at, then we've got a few horizontal targets. For instance, 1408 down the way, you're looking down to 1275. If we go beyond 12222, then your next target is the 1168 area. If we do actually challenge this, you know, between then here and there, you've got 1370 as well. We have just moved through the cloud here, and that is tying in with what we were talking about in terms as well. This is the question that we'll be asking with a number of the altcoins. Let's just keep that story going. In fact, 33 minutes into the video, as I jump over towards the Link USD pairing and ask the same question, showing us having come through this area as well on the Ichimoku cloud, and we're actually coming in here at the orange line that we had drawn in at 21.41. Now there's a reason for that line. That's previous all-time no, it's not that. Whoopsie. Oh, my flow, you've interrupted my flow. This is one of the previous highs. Yes, the previous all-time high is where that line was. That's indeed correct, right? Yeah, that's right, that's what we're seeing. So it was the previous was it though? No, it wasn't. It was higher than it. It was just where tell you what, this bit won't be making it into the into any edited clips that I put out. Hey. That's abnormal for me. Don't normally stumble around like that. Anyhow, so the top line of this one coming in here at 23, you know, that was one of our targets that we had based off of Fibonacci extensions towards the top. Quick reminder, they're sort of 23, 25, 27. Those are your next targets. Good to have you here, by the way, Google user. What an amazingly interesting username you got there, by the way. That's fantastic. And I see Navanethan saying maybe we'll be able to invest in a Rocky DeFi coin through Super Farm DAO in the future. Question mark. That'd be totally awesome. As well, I was going to mention about this about Elio Trades coin thing that he's doing as well. Bring that up during this show, so I'll get around to that in a moment or two. Anyway, here we are taking a look at Link, 35 minutes in, let's call it, for the start of this one. And on this larger time frame of the 24 hours, you can see that the previous high was in there at $23. That was one of our previous highs. That was one of our targets for the Fibonacci extensions, looking at 23, 25, 27 really is the top side targets. They're all still in play. We can revisit those targets again as well, just by drawing in a quick Fibonacci extension here and taking a look at where this would take us in from. Now, these are targets that were drawn in from previous Fibonacci extensions, and of course this is the most latest one from the high on the 17th of January down towards the low on the 20th of January 2021, and we're looking up towards the 1618, for instance, in there at $26.50, and the 2.24 in there at $29.50, just shy of $30, and I think that's a reasonable place as well if you're looking up the way and thinking what would be a good place to take profits at, is if you're just a hodler. But in terms of just trading this in the meantime, there's plenty of other targets to be looking to for us, and they do have retracements towards the downside as well for them. If we just want to visit this in terms of those targets, in terms of looking at the Ichimoku cloud, then we can take a look there at where those arrows were previously pointing to and asking questions about our previous highs on the way up the way. Can we sustain any moves down past these two red lines above the prices of $17? If we need to find ultimate support, then we're going to be looking down towards $13 at this stage over here. That would constitute a break of the Ichimoku cloud. We don't want to see that happening. Overall, we are above the cloud, trading positively, trending towards the top side, with a nice cross having happened on our signal line there, and of course everything being positioned nicely. Now, what we do have are these two red lines giving us a bit of information with regards to current levels of support and resistance, and they're coming in there at sort of the mid 21s, 21.4, and towards the downside 19.3, and that's the range, really, $19 up to $21.50 today that we've had. And those lower side targets, should they be held, are offering really good buying opportunities for further subsequent moves towards the top side if we see that, with this upward momentum in terms of the volume continuing while we see the upward movement overall with the RSI being overall very quite positive. We broke up into the bullish control zone, came back down, and were supported by the neutral line here, and then came up again towards the bullish control zone and back down just outside of it, and asking questions about can we push back in again, which we may well be able to do. If not, then you've got a doubly top pattern here, and this of course could form it as like an Adam and Eve here on the RSI, and perhaps an M pattern or something along those lines on the price action or head and shoulders, etc. And that all comes into play with movements down past these key support areas anyway that we've already mentioned, critically between $19 and $17. But at the minute, things are looking fairly good for this one. And while this is a slightly bearishly divergent high, we have seen the pullback from there subsequently, of course, this being a profit taking target that we were looking at. And if we were looking at it, even though of course this is the premier #1 technical analysis channel on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, then even though, then of course there's probably some other people out there, namely as well the smart money, looking at that sort of prices and seeing there was a turnaround with an accumulation potential below. So if we want to then break that accumulation phase and look towards a low down over here, then of course that would present different structural challenges in terms of the potential for patterns which have got negative outcomes on them. At the minute though, we're in an upward trend with the slight warning of the potential for divergence, which is being overcome if we do see the DMI positive and negative diverge away from each other. What we have at the minute, of course, is this cross as well in stochastics, giving you that idea that, you know, as we've seen, what goes up must come down, etc. Maybe we've got a bit more in store for us, and it would be fair to look towards these previous lows and say, well, hey, you know, maybe we need to come down towards the $15 area before going up again. And that is a fair statement, but that's beyond the realms of what we'd want to be trading, because of course the percentage moves between here and hither are far too big in terms of, you know, where our stops and whatever else would be allowing us to permit us to trade like that, because that would be lunatic stuff. Here on this smaller term time frame of the 4 hour, you see that we found support recently at the Ichimoku cloud, and of course here on this red line. Now there'll be various other things that come into play with that red line, undoubtedly, you know, in terms of Fibonacci, whatever. For instance, we could draw one in here and see that the 236 is, well, it's at that red line that we're finding, you know, acting as resistance at the minute, and the 382 coming in, it's the support area just here. So we know that there's interplay amongst various different confluences here, and we can look over towards the left, and while the price action is kind of breaking down past our trailing line, it's also breaking up past it again, and we've got that positive cross to rely on. So we're waiting for the resolution of things, and at the minute, of course, in terms of the smaller term time frame, there is the potential for this to start to look quite good with how we've broken up above that zone, like we mentioned in the other coins on their technical analysis we did in the live show today. Just here, you know, looking up the way at the minute, coming in past that 21.5 zone. So now that we've taken this target, the subsequent, you know, higher areas do come into play again, but this, we need to see this operate for us as support if we can. Failing that, of course, the cloud here for us, or else again what we've seen over the last couple of days, if we're honest, you know, since the 18th up to you know, last couple of days, what we've seen is of course been this sort of downward trend. This is the first signs that it's been broken since over here on the 19th, you know, at 7:30 a.m. in terms of the UTC price action here for Bitcoin, but or for Bitcoin, for Chainlink, but then we broke back down again, looking towards sort of managing your trades with that cloud there, for instance, just making things nice and simple today using the Ichimoku cloud for that. Right, cool. Check in with the chat there. I see KDoc hit the like button. Thank you so much, KDoc. That's good stuff. And we see not financial advice but friendly advice. Haha, that's cool. Yes, of course, Julian. Now you can look towards groups. I mean, I'll never recommend anything like that to anybody for numerous reasons. I've explained them all in detail. It's kind of is one of the core mantras of the channel. So, you know, there you go. Right, scrolling on down the way, peeps, anyone bought any 88 miles per hour? Got some a couple of days ago to swing trade, just wondering, and thoughts on it. Cheers. Well, I've never heard of 88 miles per hour, but I guess it was only time, wasn't it, Doc? That's funny. Yeah, so anyway, John Range, I got Crohn's, I need to use the bathroom. Yo, that's good information. Thanks so much for that, John. That's good to know. Man, you is tripping, he says. And I guess that's in response to, I have a picture with me standing in front of one. That's about it. I cannot confirm or deny I travelled in time with it, says KDoc, with regards to DeLorean. Of course, as well, having lived in Northern Ireland myself for a number of years, then I visited all those DeLorean things that you do over there and saw them myself as well. I probably probably got a picture of me standing around at DeLorean 2. Isn't it great? Isn't it lovely? Nice to have you here, Marcin, by the way. Thank you for the good info on Link. Appreciate it. That's cool. Well, let's try and see if we can rinse and repeat, shall we? Jump on over towards Tezos and take a look at the price action. If you are just joining me here for this video, then thank you so much for doing so. Liking and subscribing is always appreciated. And we've been talking today in a number of altcoins, asking the question about here on the Ichimoku cloud on the 15-minute time frame. We've broken up past the cloud just now, and is this going to be the start of something decent? If we look here in the background as well of the Tezos to dollar price, we know that this is actually just taken out an area of our pitchfork. Now that's of course very important to us, having looked at this for a long time. That is the upper line, bringing us into the upper warning zone of the pitchfork, and that's a great name when you're kind of hoping for the prices to go towards the top side, right? Well, warning, they could if we manage to maintain prices up above these areas. Now, what is that area? Well, it's 287 really. The 290s, as we could see before, was operating in terms of support, having when we broke up past these areas before, 288, sort of 292, 294, but then we broke down past that, and then we've come into above the Ichimoku cloud. Why would I mention this 15-minute Ichimoku cloud at the start of an episode, Rocky? That's not like you talking about TA from the small term perspective. Well, there's a narrative to be drawn together here as we look down towards the 4-hour time frame and see that we have bounced off of the Ichimoku cloud over here, and it's brought us back up to their subsequently, brought us back up to this area of support and resistance as we have been able to anticipate. So overall, this could be conceivably positive, although of course this low is lower than our previous low. But let's remember, this is just still the 4-hour time frame, a relatively low one, and in fact, overall here we are we're doing all right. We've not really taken out any lows so much as that we're just still yet on the way towards doing one, and that what we saw in the 4-hour was the flux along the way. What I'm deleting at the minute, by the way, is of course a diamond pattern that we talked about last week, which has led towards, in some small parts at least, the move that we've seen towards the top side here so far, but we've not got the full move off of that. That does actually come up size the 340 area, and that remains our target along the way, so long as we stay above this green horizontal serrated line that I've got on here in the charts at 264. Credibly, that's where our lows have been down at today, seeing a rise up in prices, which has resulted in a down, a day which it says it's down 0.69% UR. But of course, as well, we can see that the wick on this is accounting for about 8% of price action towards the top side here as well today. So there has been a big rejection on this candle, and that's decent to see. Of course, this is early days for this one yet, and we want to see this not kind of sink on down and become something else, such as, I don't know, 3 black crows or something like that on the charts there for us. In terms of the bigger term timeframes, by the way, this is putting us in from an Ichimoku cloud perspective. It's not a surprise to see that this is all coming in at around about these areas where we're finding support and resistance, and that is also lining up with the Fibonacci as we would expect, where the 50% areas, and of course then that lines up perfectly with where the Ichimoku cloud would be. See my Ichimoku cloud explainer video for understanding why these lines would line up so close like that. And of course now we can see this is where we really need to start putting our foot down, put the pedal to the metal if we want to go up and change the structure of things. And if we don't, then what we're looking at in terms of the 3-day time frame could very well be some sort of cup with handle. What do we have to distinguish it from all the sort of noise of, what do we have that could maybe make it be one, and what could we have working against us? Well, first off, what we have working against us, if I could struggle to find the brush tool, there we have our previous high is not where we are at right now. This is coming in with a lip in terms of the cup, which is just here if you're thinking about it that way, and that lines up with that area. Now of course there is support and resistance historically in this area, but it's not the twin peak that you would look for. And as well, this high isn't actually higher than the highs that we've had in the sort of preceding period of time, so that kind of discounts it from a textbook point of view. But how about just in terms of this, the raw psychology in and around about this area, and maybe in the future we go on to do a different cup with handle somewhere else, we get cup with handle within a cup with handle, yada yada. How would that all look, and what would it happen? Would it happen like for us? If how would it feel? And we can see that a bit clearer from when we go back down from the 3-day down to the lower time frames. Let's jump down to the 12-hour time frame and zoom out so you can see this area here. If we come up and we put in a lip of the handle and it ties up with our previous high, that was before the big drop off in prices and the psychology as well. You know, this is our last key area when the positivity really boiled off and the head and shoulders from before played out and took us down with a full measured move. So that's a significant area psychologically. And then in terms of the volume, that kind of ties together with the rounding nature of it over there. So there's a number of things to be said about it in terms of, you know, the significance of these areas. But ultimately, if you were looking at that as being where the ideal lip would be, then you're talking about coming in here at the 618 golden pocket retrace zone, the top end of the pitchfork, and a number of reasons why from that point you could see a 50% retracement. If it was to be from around about our current high, then the 50% area has been satisfied in terms of whether or not this is a handle, and that's the 30%. Sorry, it hasn't been satisfied. It would require us to come down towards 250. Ideally, we would be able to accommodate the handle section by not coming down and taking out the previous low that we just put in there in terms of our body closures, and that would give us a much better section for us if we were looking at that in terms of retracement. Now, that's all entirely speculative and goes beyond the scope of really just kind of really looking at this from a simplistic basic perspective and saying what you need to know. And what you need to know is that we're in an upward trend, which is good, and that's nice to see. And we can see that we've got a high which has come in higher than our previous highs. And in terms of the oscillators down below, that there is the risk here to be bearing in mind of the divergences. So if we do see pullbacks, let's look towards the support areas of around about 250, etc., or indeed 275, as we've just experienced with regards to the Ichimoku cloud, and of course various other things that we could look at if we wanted it to be more complicated, and hope that the DMI, for instance, is able to reinvigorate and show us that positive trend, which is still in place very much clearly on the 24-hour time frame, where we've got plenty of scope for being able to do healthy retraces and still just offer up buying opportunities. And even as far down as the 15-minute time frame, there is the possibility that we have a break through the cloud, giving us some positivity, which might last for just a day. It might last for a few days. Let's see. Who knows, right? Cool. That's really where we are at the moment. I'm going to just catch up with the chat here, and if you did watch through that Tesla section, specifically just for the Tesla section, remember, hit like and subscribe and share it with your friends. I really do appreciate that. By the way, the original Tezos technical analyst over here, that's right, Rocky to the rescue. So yeah, I'm the first one that did it on YouTube. Well, pretty much definitely the first one that did it consistently, and still probably the only one who is got a professional approach to things. Looking at the chat then, what do we have? What have I missed out on? John Range, you and Crypto Newton are def my faves. That's cool. Are you Australian yourself? Australian? Yourself or not? I watched one of those videos from like the Aussie Man reviews or whatever yesterday. Sometimes it's refreshing to have a bit of Australian in your face, that is in your face Australianismness of Aussie Man and the like. Where he's it's just brazen Australian attitudes are fun. Thank you for the good info and link, says Marcin, and you're welcome. One Southside Playa Crypto says, what's up, champ? What's up yourself, mate? Good to have you here. Nice to see you, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us. Michael John Scott says, what is it about made in Ireland? DeLorean, Titanic. And of course the Titanic's sister ship, which was served a really long history, and there's lots of conspiracy stuff about Titanic as well. You should check it out if you like. Was there a big dent on it? Check out the photographs of Titanic taken in dry dock and see what you think and all that sort of stuff. Ooh, why did JP Morgan not take his ticket that he had built and paid for on that trip? Was there something more to the story? I wonder. Well, there's certainly more to the story of the DeLorean. It's good crack. You study about that in GCSE business studies in Northern Ireland. Well, probably still do. Anyway, I'm late to the party, says RT Pile. Late to the party. RT. Well, RT party, you gotta be quicker next time. Except my real name is Trey. What's up, Cropticians? Good to see you, Trey. It's good to know what your real name is and all that stuff. I hope I can remember that. Oh, RT, you missed the free token giveaway. Yes, that's right. It was a nice round $1 million each. That sorry you missed that one. but yeah, well, you know, maybe there'll be another one at some point in the future. What do you think of the pterodactyls below that fly along with the like subscribe thing on there? Is it distracting and annoying, or is it, you know, good enough to people need a reminder to do that sort of thing? So let me know what you think. Anyway, we've covered all the technical analysis that we're really going to cover today so far, and that's nice because we've got the video coming in at under an hour. That gives me 8 minutes to chit chat away with people. We've even done a paid for donation TA section on Neo. Not bad. That's groovy. That's really great, in fact. So we've done a heck of a lot, and that's good to know. There's plenty of things we could be talking about. Did we have divergences? Yes, we did. Then we went through the cloud. We have did we have anything good here? Oh, we had the same sort of dealio on the go with that. Interesting. So yeah, anyway, we could talk about a whole bunch of stuff. Here's the no sure thing over here, by the way. Whoop, over there, cross back down here. Good move, of course. Then that lines up with this low. Everything was looking good for that, but we have taken out this previous high. Now, of course, we need to put in a higher low. You know, whether I hope ideally no lower than we've already gone, but whatever, and go towards the top side if you want that to happen. This not looking quite as positive as those alts, which actually pushed right through the cloud on the 15-minute time frame. Is that going to be good for maybe the entire market, where we can see the continued downward slope on the Bitcoin dominance, as at the same time over here on the total market cap we see it maintaining itself around about the $1 trillion area? This moving up quicker than the Bitcoin price moving up in terms of its chart and what we're looking at, and the altcoins doing up quicker, and the Bitcoin dominance thing continue to go down while the Bitcoin price itself overall gradually increases, is the sweet spot for crypto, which is very, 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 very rarely times 11, times that by another 11, very rarely happens. So it'd be good to see that happening for a wee while. That would be the winning mode, instead of the somebody's got to get screwed over mode that crypto normally goes in. Give me a shout out at some point on Crypto Newton's channel. I'll give Crypto Newton a shout out at the minute. I'm sure I mean he's tuned in a few times, he's seen my channel, so I'll just go give him one then now. I do like to give my friends on YouTube a shout out, so I'll do a quick set of that here in the final 8 minutes of this video, or whatever we end up doing, I don't know, but give Crypto Newton a shout out so that people can see his logo and his face is Australian. There's his crying face logo thing, and I'm subscribed, as you can see there, because I did the guy a favor by hitting subscribe. I haven't hit the bell button, but you should do that with my videos so that you can find out when they come out. I actually don't watch anybody else do TA because mine's always, you know, authentically unique, but there's his channel there. And then of course, you know, he's got his subscriber numbers have gone up by roughly 18,000 in the period that mine have gone up 2,000. He's doing very well, and I'm pleased from. But of course, if you would give me a shout out back that one day, that'd be cool as well. But you can go check him out there. Say I sent you if you fancy it. Oh wait, I was also going to give a couple other people a shout out. Give Trade Spot a shout out here, who put out a video yesterday that I think is really worth a watch. I think it's really quite well put together, this breakout trading video there. As you can see from the back, you know, the little glimpse that you get looking at it, it's definitely a video. I think it's great. I think it's really well put together video, worth a watch. Hit that button, hit that bell button, all that stuff as well. Anybody else I should give a shout out to at the minute in terms of the YouTube? There was that lassie that I put on yesterday. I've forgotten her name off the top of my head. I don't know. Any of you guys in the chat got a YouTube channel you want me to give you a shout out? I'll give you a shout out. Jumping back over to the chat here. Anyway, this is where we're currently finding ourselves with regards to the Bitcoin pricing. Let's see. I did see that John Range says, I donate, but I'm still trying to get my feet on the ground in terms of trading. Hopefully in the future, I'm making bank and can throw you some coin. Like and share. Gotta get my dude more subs. A possible head and shoulders for Link. Volume going down from left to right. Thoughts? Okay, I'll take a look at that What time frame was that, John? That'll be like the last thing that we really take a look at on the channel today. Probably everybody, you know, as well. Unless, you know, you flood me with chit chat and you want me to stick around for a bit longer, then if maybe you could twist my arm into it. No worries at all, my friend. I played my second short yesterday, came out in a profit. I'm satisfied. Good one, by the way, Trey. Nice to see you getting that confidence growing as a trader and starting to familiarize yourself with the full range of possibilities that you have in trading. You don't have to go in one direction. Now, of course, that ability does come with great responsibility. That responsibility is that you need to be adaptable, okay? And there's a really great phrase to bear in mind when it comes to being adaptable. You don't have to don't ever think of yourself as being some sort of flaky or like a yes man or whatever. Instead, think along the lines of what Peter Brandt says when he says strong opinions loosely held. Okay, so it's good you're able to take a strong opinion. You kind of maybe feel like you need to have that strong opinion if you're going to actually take action with a short, for instance, and then you're able to actually, you know, loosely hold that opinion and revert back to following the trend, as it were, before, or indeed stopping out if you're happy enough with that. So strong opinions loosely held, that's going to serve you well in the future. Think of that the next time you're thinking about stuff. Chart champions are legit, says John Range. I do like the chart champions chap. I've had him on the show before, so to speak, as well. Chatted to him as well in the old Discord. He's a good guy. I think he's a really competent trader with while he doesn't have the same approach to trading as I do, it's very much more sort of specific in terms of talking about you know, how well it came in with its exact price point and all the rest of it. And I kind of laugh at those sorts of ideas because I'm trying to introduce people who are who need to know to be able to rely on themselves, that, you know, if they don't get it to the exact penny, that doesn't matter, and that's more of a joke type thing. And of course he's slightly tongue-in-cheek when he says it, but it comes across like it's, you know, his thing. Anyway, yeah, I think he's a great guy, and Daniel he's called. And if you go over that direction and you say that you came and you were pointed in this direction by Rocky Outcrop, then I'm sure he'd have a smile on his face because he'd like that. Chart champions, there's chart champions. What have I go search Rocky Outcrop, will it come up with my chart champions video where I'm having a laugh? You see here, so I've got me and Daniel had a good laugh about this one. Only got 84 views, but I've had Daniel on the show. What I did, by the way, was I got in contact with him first and asked him if he would like to be on the show, and did it as sort of like, and can I use a clip from your video, blah blah blah, and all the rest of it. Then we watched it together for a laugh, or well, he watched it on his own in his house and spoke to me through Discord before I published it and everything else, because I wanted to be fair about these things and all that and not use somebody else's content. But anyway, I had him on the show before. I just kind of slotted myself off to the, where is it where he's chatting? And what are the here, for instance, implications then going forward? So if I just dive back over to, and I was doing it with a bit of a laugh, asking him questions and stuff and just cropping what he said out to make it, you know, like an interview. Anyway, that was a good laugh. So yeah, cool. There we go. It'd be cool if people give me shout outs on the channel. I genuinely think that we're the most comprehensive in terms of TA. I'm not a signals guy, as I've already spoken about. John Range, if you're talking, if you know, you'll know that Daniel's chart champion specifically is a signals guy. He does that in his group. It's something that I don't want to do, you know, necessarily. If there was loads of people that wanted to pay me the money to do it for them, then I suppose maybe I would, but I'm not going to charge one individual a massive amount and just do it. And so there needs to be a big demand for it, and I'm not interested in that. Whatever, y'all know. Yeah, actually I'm saying too much. I've got to stop doing that. K-Doc, they say it was the sister ship that sank as the Titanic was insured and the sister ship wasn't yet insured. There we go. There's one conspiracy theory for y'all. Hola, Rocky Outcropticians. Hola, amigo. ¿Cómo está? ¿Cómo está, Mexican kitchen? I hope you're doing very well. Late to the party too. You're late, but never demasiado late, my friend. You're still here. Anyway, hope your tacos are doing very well. what we do see, by the way, in terms of what this DMI right now is, there's this cross. I want to point out that we had a negative cross while this ADX itself is just gone red here on this one. So while there is this negative cross, you might be thinking, but Rocky, we're going to fail here because of that. Okay, good point to make, and all, that's fine. And in terms of this high and the stochastics showing us that we're coming in with some bearish divergence, and that in this little section of price we're kind of oscillating as well. Yes, that's potentially true, but if we do consider this zone to be like a, well, maybe not that zone specifically, but more like this sort of area as being like a neckline with a head and shoulders-y type area for us, then we could push on past it and come up towards our 36,000 targets and whatever, and that would flip this back over again and result in the divergences we're seeing on here being not a big deal, and the fact that we don't have those divergences on the 15-minute RSI here, which is more important in terms of them than the stochastics would be, in my opinion. Then you'd be looking okay. So like there is that, but of course we are being resisted by that at the minute, and that's going to do with regards to that TA for that one. What am I wanting to do? There was one thing. What chart? Somebody said something about head and shoulders. Just scroll back up and find that in a second. By the way, K-Doc says, cheers again for the TA today, Rocky. See y'all later. Remember to hit that like and subscribe. Yeah, do remember to hit that like and subscribe, please, everybody. You're right. Thank you for giving them a reminder, K-Doc. That's appreciated. Who was it that said something? Yeah, John Range. Possible head and shoulders for Link. Volume going down from left to right. Thoughts? I wonder if that's your own TA there. Cuidate, by the way, that's what is Mexican Kitchen saying there, by the way, K-Doc. Quick translation for you. That means take care, essentially. Cuidate is a cute Spanish word. Yeah, so Link, you said. Link. Link versus the dollar. It'll be on a bigger time frame than this. Surely to goodness. What we want to do is hide all the drawings. We can leave the Ichimoku cloud on if we like. So you're saying that you've got this sort of sloppy head and shoulders. So there's this downward slope here on towards the downside instead of a flat neckline. You've got a what looks like that if it were to turn around at these points here, that you'd have a sloppy right hand shoulder as well. So there's that. But we do have that potential. Sure, it's a shit looking one, but we have that potential. What we like to see as well is on the RSI to have had like a head and shoulders. Since we're putting in the right hand shoulder now, it would be the head and shoulders would have already have happened kind of on the RSI in a sense, and we've got that. We're seeing that signature there, and that lends itself well enough to the same story as what you'd get from doing different type of TA on this one, and saying that we have the potential for a descending triangle, which is clearly still there as well. So it really depends on what way you want to look at it. These two signatures line up perfectly. There's always a gestalt nature to these things in terms of the points that we're talking about as well, that you're saying what it also translates to is the same chat. You say head and shoulders, tomato. I say descending triangle, tomato, and then you can also look towards the Fibonacci and say, well, if this is the right hand shoulder, or indeed the top end of the supply line on the descending triangle, and it fails at this point, it goes down the way, then you're failing to take out the 236, having a valid Fibonacci, and going down towards the downside, you'd be looking towards the 382. But then of course there's a solid chance that you go on to at least the 50% area, which would be like your measured move off the back of that anyway. And then of course extended down towards the 618 would be if you were to give yourself the grotesque measured move going down towards the low point of the right hand shoulder, as opposed to kind of coming down from the head down towards your left hand shoulder, tying up with each of them. Let's call the whole thing off. So that's what your technical analysis adds up to being anyway. Of course, if you're looking at sort of Ichimoku cloud, etc., then you've got the same scenarios there. So yeah, I mean, you can absolutely say that, and you're not wrong, and but that doesn't, it's not mutually exclusive, and you'll find that looking at it for the whole story probably does give you, on the one hand, more noise, I suppose, in terms of your TA, and on the other hand, a lot of useful stuff. A lot of useful stuff there, pal. Really good information to have. This is a downward sloping trend so far, and there's no divergences showing up, blah blah blah. But if we do push up towards the top side, then what this looks like in reverse is having had a good moment for the oscillators to reset, and that would go hand in hand with this cross here, proliferating price action towards the top side. If we can see this turn around and become orange again, it's still in the chop zone, but at least it's above the price action, and it's a real beautiful time for it to turn around and fail. So in terms of it, like, what percentage chances do Head and Shoulders have of working out? Something in around about the range of 66% or 60%, sort of 60% failure rate, you know. So like they don't work out more often than they do, you know, which is totally fair enough, because that makes sense in that you could come down here and fill out for a bigger ascending triangle, you know, maybe come down and fail like that, for instance, and then you'd have a failed Head and Shoulder and you've got a different thing. And it's kind of like looking at the evolution of stuff so that you're always prepared in advance. Anyhow, so what do we have is of course this high that came in, it's bearishly divergent compared to our previous high, if that's how you want to look at it. But this is only the 4-hour time frame. Jump up towards the 24-hour time frame, it just becomes a high, which is of course not, you know, terribly divergent. It is actually just marginally divergent here on the, is it though? Is it class B? Yeah, it is. It's just by like 1 pixel. But we're still going on fine. The trend is towards the top side, and we haven't taken it to 236, and that's what it. You know, we've not closed below it and opened and closed below it to say that it's happened yet, and that's where we are. So you're absolutely able to trade within that. Sometimes I wonder if I overload people with information, you know, in a sense that I could have just approached it and says, yeah, Head and Shoulders, yeah, that's possible, that's totally conceivable. But instead I gave the entire context, and I think, do I do myself and the audience a disservice when I do that? I mean, maybe, you know, it's useful for the small percentage of people who have the same sort of mindset as I do, perhaps, and maybe it's not useful for everybody. I don't know. Year into this gig, and I still don't know what the best thing to do for folk is at any time. Just try and help, just try and be their spirit guide, just try and be their ally and their friend. I mean, if nothing else, I can be the friend of the people that are tuning in and relate to them. What we're looking at in terms of Bitcoin prices from the bigger term picture is still that we're consolidating. Not much point in looking for divergences and whatever else. You know, in terms of the Fibonacci plays at the minute, we're satisfying everything constantly, you know, in a sort of every other or every 3 days basis here with the 618 and the 236. Currently, as yet, never having been really broken towards either side. There is a measured move to be had off the back of this. This is what we can call the AF Karimi Toka symmetrical triangle here. Big picture stuff, and it does take you up as high as 50,000 and down as low as 20,000 if we were to actually get the full measured move off of it. In a sense, that's kind of scary, if you like, from a lot of points of view for trading it, but we don't really need to think about that. That's just the broad perspective. There's plenty of little intermediate moves that we'll be able to have quite happily. When you look between the distances between all of these different Fibonacci points, there's plenty of good stuff to be had. Even just coming up towards the easy fake out territory of our previous high is going all the way up between 35 and 40 grand, and that puts you in there at with a fake out, which gives you a 12% profit. You know, that's super good, and you don't need to really sniff too much at any of that. Just try and manage your risk accordingly, and if you are trading a breakout, be sure to check out TradeSpotting's video on breakouts so that you know what you would be ideal to be doing in and around about this situation. That's his latest video that went out on his channel, and it should have something in there of note for you. What does that sound like? It sounds like he's getting ready to say bye, doesn't it, ladies and gents? Well, that's correct, because that is the situation. We're an hour and 11 minutes into this video, and I'm going to start to say cheerio to folks. I'm going to do a reverse roll call here. If anybody is if anybody is interested, then and wants to have me look at anything or talk about anything before I go, be sure to get your comment in fairly quickly, because of course I will be tuning out soon, and I don't want anybody to feel like if they just thought to ask before I said cheerio. Anyway, what we have here is this Elio Trades chap, and and you can do what I just did there on his channel and my channel. If you haven't already hit subscribe, you should. And he put out a video yesterday talking about his own thing, absolute best altcoin of 2021, and there might be a decent opportunity for people to get in on something there at the ground level, if you like, or there might not be. Who knows? He's a serious YouTuber with a lot of views on all of his videos, so there's a degree of traction to be had there. And he has tried things in the past. I mean, he had an application called Tron Chat. Not sure of its success or failure with that, but the fact of the matter is that he's trying things, and he wants to be an innovator, and he wants to do it in a way which seems to be like along the similar mentality to myself, where you do businesses which try to help the users of them, etc. So he's got an accent which is incredibly different to my own.
Yield to you the absolute best altcoin gem.
So for some people that'll sound like their next door neighbor. For other people they'll be like, oh my god, that guy's voice. I think he's probably a really legitimately nice guy, and if you go along and join his Telegram and all the rest of it there, he's obviously from America, and that's it. That's a pretty good introduction to him. He's got lots of videos out now. Of course, he talks about the wild targets. He's much more of a hodler than a trader. He's curious about trading, but he doesn't fully understand it. I do believe Crown gave him his course for free, I'm pretty sure, so you should have some certain ideas about trading, I think. But anyway, there you go. That's a fairly comprehensive talk about him, and he's doing something there, so that's like another shout out. So there you go. I'm not a YouTube monogamist. You can always say I sent you. Who knows? Not telling anybody to spam anybody. I don't ever do that. I've never done that before either, but there you go. So I'm ready for that big announcement and for the big moonshot. Wait a minute, what announcement? Oh well, I'll just have to figure that out later. Great stream, super personable, humble guy. Keep it up, my man. Thank you so much, John. I really do appreciate that. And yeah, I owe everything to the audience, right? I owe everything to the audience. I do really endeavor to do good technical analysis. I spend a lot of time off camera researching and trying to make it so that the streams are good quality and all that sort of stuff. So I really do appreciate it. And of course, we've got a relatively small numbers here, 25 or so concurrent viewers. That if you would all hit like, that'd be super fantastic. And if you share it with your friend, that'd be super fantastic. Oh, I see you've edited your YouTube name, Marcin, and you're now Marcin instead of Marcin Albeckier. That's cool as well. So I care about the audience a lot. I care about your ability to become good traders. I have a good goal in mind to become surrounded by 1,000 good traders and all of that. And I like sharing my experience in a way that has actionable, real good world, real life value for people, so that they can engage in war against the fish themselves. I never try to give a man a fish. Instead, I teach him how to kill fishes like Rambo. Great. So with that being said, muchísimas gracias para mis amigos Mexican Kitchen, RT Pile, Marsan, Michael John Scott, John Range, what do we have here? K-Doc, John again, Jared Harkinson, who came, said something, deleted and left. Wonder what it was. I hope it was fantastic, a magical comment, like for the benefit of everybody that got to see it. Then of course future donator John Range. By the way, I appreciate everybody who donates to the channel. I try to give people more value in the TA here than really the way that you're talking about it there is that you'd love to be sending some value back the way, and that you and if you think that when in the future you're making bank, as you put it, that would maybe be that in your head that you are associating some of that advancement in your own trading career to be due to me, then that's massively humbling to me, and I really appreciate it. It's a fantastic thing to do, so I really do appreciate that. But I want to remind you that, of course, the number one person to be donating to is yourself, and donate in terms of knowledge and commitment and faith in yourself. That will really stand you in good stead in the long run. And then and whatever advancements you make as a trader will be down to yourself. Okay, they will be. I'm just a spirit guide here. I really do appreciate it. And for everybody who's interested as well, you can help support the channel, because at some point this year I'll upgrade all the tech, and the way that I aim to do that is by having Patreon people come along and become Patreons and help support the channel that way. And whenever there's a certain amount of them donating a certain amount of money every month, then that'll obviously go towards a kitty that will, well, actually the certain amount is 1 and 2, whatever. They'll go towards a kitty where eventually I'll get a really good quality camera, a really good quality microphone, and all the rest of it. But I'm just decided that for 2021 I'm going to run the YouTube channel as a business. So either it's wiping its own face, as they say in business, or it isn't. And I'm not going to put the money in towards that myself. So if you want to see the quality get better and help support the channel, it really, really does help. In the meantime, everything's pretty cool. I think everything's pretty good. The video quality is good enough, I think. The audio quality is good enough, I think, and the TA, I think, is really, really good. So the bottleneck on the channel isn't the quality of the camera, it isn't the number of Patreons that I've got, it isn't, which is currently standing at sort of just under 1. It isn't anything, the TA is on point, the love for the community is on point, the chat that's in there is on point, the Discord and whatever else, various means of communicating, everything's there. What's the thing that's the bottleneck? I think maybe that it's not people telling each other about the channel, and that's understandable. We're all lone wolves out there. But if you were to share it with your random friends on the interwebs, on your Facebooks and your Twitters, that would probably help a massive amount. I would really appreciate it, because any growth is going to be good growth as this community goes. And as I recognize every single name that comes along, by the way. Devoricus, good to have you here. So why am I always eating when you're on? I'm sorry about that, I don't mean to be. I guess I'm eating at the wrong time. Then I should eat when you're eating. That would fix that problem. Right, I'll have to get my vibe sensor fixed. Yeah, so whatever. Let's grow the channel together. I really appreciate it. I'll just then say cheerio. So though is there, what have I missed? Have I missed anybody off here? Don't let me get away with missing anyone. Nav and Ethan, can't believe I missed Nav and Ethan. Mate, thanks so much for tuning in. It was really great. Rocky Outcrop, maybe we'll be able to invest in a Rocky DeFi coin through Super Farm DAO in the future. I would really hope so. I think it'd be cool. I think that there's one of the things I really would love for this community, and I know that it's going to come from within the community at some point, certainly in some crypto YouTube community, but I hope it's this one, will be a real genuine attempt at doing some sort of DeFi type thing with our own platform, with our own coin off the back of it, that we can all benefit from together. Wouldn't that be super, super cool? And wouldn't it be super cool if I distributed the rewards to people based on how long they'd been a subscriber to the channel, for instance? And I looked over there, because you can see how long people have been a subscriber if they make their subscription public. So if there was 2 requirements, 1, be subscribed, 2, have your subscriptions on YouTube public, then I could go along there and give people a number of coins based on how long they've been subscribed. Wouldn't that be awesome? Or indeed a member of the Discord, or any of those other things, and do it that way with maybe the likes of like TimeStope or Pi, where you just have to do verify your attention essentially, as to sort of stake the node things on it and run some sort of DeFi transaction-y jobby thing, so that people can do groovy stuff and make loads of monies or whatever all that involves. Wouldn't that be really cool? I think it would be cool, and that'll come from within the community. So let's aim for that, shall we, in the future. I agree with you. Nice to have you here, by the way, Julian Bonilla, or is it Julian Bonilla? I wonder. Didn't actually catch where you were from. If it's a Spanish-speaking country, be sure to let me know. Who else do we have? WallQ. I like your name, WallQ, because it reminds me of Wall-E. Gank L, we had you earlier on when you said hello, and we had Bruno Tolegni. Really difficult to say name. We had yourself as well. Who let the bulls out? And that was everybody. Everybody's got a shout out. Scrolling back down at the bottom to make sure I haven't missed anybody. Howdy chaps, says TradeSpotting. Yes, I'm just tuning out now, TradeSpotting, by the way. You can go back and check out the video. It's all the TA is done within the first 57 minutes. Really, it started off with Bitcoin. After 9 minutes, it goes to talk about Neo. Then at 30 minutes, we're talking about Chainlink, is that right? 35 minutes. I must have done Ethereum in between, and then I don't know when we're talking about the other ones. I'll figure it out after I've said cheerio to everybody. So yeah, what I was just discussing there at the end, by the way, just before you tuned in, was how much I gosh darn love the community. What I'm planning on using the Patreon donations for is to increase the quality of the streams and all that sort of stuff. So it'd be great if somebody out there wanted to become a subscriber on Patreon or whatever it is. I also need to kind of make my language a bit more sophisticated, and that's it. Yeah, that's all I was really chatting about there, and appreciating everybody that tuned in. Thank you so much, by the way, to John, who donated $5 during this episode. Massively appreciated. By Cropticians, he says, give Janet yelled a poke. So no, not that poke with a sharp stick. Janet yelled. Is that the name of the lassie? What was the name of the lassie that I shared in yesterday's video? Because and I did subscribe, I'm pretty sure. Who's Janet yelled? Janet yelled. Janet Yellen. Did I read Janet yelled? Yeah, whatever. Who cares? Anyway. Next time, guys. Great stuff as always, Rocky. Yeah, cheers. Thanks so much. Catch you later, Artie. Trey, I should say. Howdy, chaps. Yes, hello, Trace1. I will go check it out and watch twice, then share as well. Well, that's it. Thank you so much to everybody. Didn't get any negative feedback with regards to the pterodactyls holding the signs down below with share and subscribe. Oh, shut your face, YouTube. Right, cool. That's it. That's my signal to tune out. Thanks so much to everybody for tuning in. I'll see you when I'm back again. And I will be back again. You know it. Subscribe, hit that bell, and I'll give you the best TA going. By the way, as well, it is really, really accurate. If you want to see how accurate the TA is on the channel, here's a good thing that you can do just for fun. Tell me if it doesn't work out, because if it doesn't work out, then I'd like to know. It'd be cool to discuss it. It'd be cool to see what it is. I could learn something myself. But what you could do if you want to see how accurate the TA is on the channel is just to go, for instance, into the Bitcoin videos, go down to a random video from the past, any of them. So this one here, I totally don't know what it was, and in this 31 minutes I'll have explained everything that we needed to know on March the 21st, and no doubt if you were to go and look at the charts from the subsequent days, you'd get a lot out of it. Let's just kind of go in here and see what sort of random crap I'm talking about at a random point in the video.
Negative
in the past.
Positive aspects are diverging away from each other, so we've not got that really quite yet, so things are kind of still as they were, and in that basis you can go ahead and watch yesterday's video for a more detailed explanation of where we could be going.
Okay, well, irony of ironies, eh? Obviously I've had that opinion for a while. Right, catch you later. Thanks so much for tuning in. Can't believe that little bit of all the randomness came up. It would have to be that, wouldn't it? Anyway, enjoy. If you do want to look back there, there's plenty of lessons to be had, so many. I'll catch you next time.